Hello, Kuzambo.
Kusampula Rimpoche, Kusampula.
Hi.
Hello la, Kusampula.
Good evening.
Good evening la. How are you la, Rimpoche?
I'm very good. Did I do I have any? No, no filter. Okay, good.
Last,
Okay,
last,
just
last
wondering.
Rimpoche. Firstly la, I would just like to give you a very brief introduction on what this thing is really about. This Let's Get Real.
Okay. Mhm.
It's a talk show that I started in 2024 la, on TikTok. Because
Okay.
we have a lot of people on TikTok. So I just started it basically to talk about mental health. And
Hmm.
then on, the more guests I got, we started talking about their childhood, their struggles, and the victories and inspirational stories and all that.
Hmm.
So basically, my Let's Get Real is about all of that. And
Okay.
I'm really, it's a privilege for me to have Rinpoche here to
Thank you.
have this conversation with us. La. Thank you so
Hmm.
much for taking the time out. La. Thank you.
No, no, no. You're very welcome. First of all, I would like to say thank you very much for inviting me to your talk show. Just for everybody to know here, or to our participant, um, that a few weeks ago you have reached out to me, that you have told me about the talk show part. And then just first I was kind of curious, and then when you said it's all about what people gone through in their life and how they overcome, and so on, so I was just thinking, maybe if I share some few words, and maybe it will help few people, not in thousands, but just few people. Pamela, maybe we can just leave the comment open, so we let people feel.
Yes, la, yes, definitely. I will do that
That's
after our. I mean, we are done with the questions, and then
that's
I'll open the comments, la, because
okay, okay, okay.
I have this little issue of getting distracted, la.
Okay, got it. Understood. Got your point.
I
Yeah.
get distracted very easily. So, like, as Rinpoche is sharing your story, there's a high chance that I might just get distracted with the comments. Like, that's why.
Okay, got it. Understood.
Last. So, as Rinpoche mentioned, like, that you only have 45 minutes, and I don't want to
Mm.
take too much of Rinpoche's time.
No,
Let's
no.
dive straight into it. Like.
Mm.
I would really like to, Rinpoche was recognized very early on in Mebatimula in life, like when you were very young, when you were a baby, was it? La?
Yes, I was 4 years old. I was 4 years old when I was recognized by His Holiness Dalai Lama,
Yes.
and that was in. He came to my monastery. He did the enthronement and the hair cutting ceremony and all of that.
Yes.
So it was back in 1994, because previous Kalu Rimpoche was the first Buddhist master who actually went to the West 50 years ago.
Yes.
So, and then after previous Kalu Rinpoche, he met the Pope, and then the Pope of Vatican said, all the religion are welcome in the West, and that's how previous Kalu Rinpoche established the concept of this. Nowadays we have this phenomena about this Rinpoche Dharma Center, that Rinpoche Dharma Center. The whole concept of center was
Yes.
actually initiated by previous Kalu Rinpoche,
Oh,
and
yes.
yes, so then. And then after that, many other masters have established their institution, meditation centers, universities, and so on. So that's the historical relation between His Holiness Dalai Lama and previous Kalu Rinpoche. It goes all the way back, long time ago. Long story
Yes.
short.
Lasla, that's very interesting. La. But before we get into Rinpoche being recognized, do you have any memory of yourself as a child before you were recognized? La?
Oh, I don't have much of a memories. There was too many things happening when I was because the only time that I do remember was only around like 5, 6, but before that I don't remember much, because there's so many things happening and meeting and interacting with a lot of people, and yes, from starting from a very young age.
Last. And how did Rinpoche cope up la, as a child, being like recognized as one of the biggest teachers in Buddhism? La? How did Rinpoche cope up with that? La?
Well, there's a little bit of bumpy road, let's put it like this.
Yes.
And without facing some bumpy road, you do not develop any sense of purpose in life,
Yes.
because many people, they say, oh, what is the meaning of life? And, you question yourself and so on. But if you have gone through a little bit of hardship and then you get the sense of the purpose of life, the purpose of spirituality, the goals in life, and so on. So I'm very grateful for all the different stages of suffering. And since I was a kid, the moment I was recognized, it was more like my lamas are more like the caregiver to me since I was very young age. Because I was my late father, he was the nephew of previous Kalu Rimpoche,
Yes.
and then also, um, you know, I was basically brought up in the monastery, but my parents more or less the lamas and the monks around me.
Yes.
And then, so basically, I never understood the meaning of, or separation, because you kind of grown up in that atmosphere. But from the age of 7, from when I lost my father, from the age of 7, 8, and then I focused into studies a little bit, went to a different monasteries, did my 3 years retreat, Tam, 3 years and 9 months instead of 3 years and 3 months, in the age of 14. And after my 3 years retreat, I think my life actually started at the age of 18, my real life, the challenges. And, like when you are young, you have a certain struggle, but the struggle is very limited, right? You just want to have some snacks and you want to have a little bit of pocket money. You want to have 50 rupees or 10 rupees so that you can go to canteen and buy some YY, and then you can put some that unhealthy masala and cream inside and then, shake it and eat it. And that's pretty much the challenge and the struggle and the joy. And you see other kids playing football, and then you are getting punished because you didn't study when you're supposed to study, and you get beating one after another. And so, so the whole struggle is very limited. But the life for me actually started after my 3 years retreat, and the challenges, and then the people will comes with the different intentions, and the deceptions and betrayal, and then also a good people with a genuine heart and willing to support and willing to dedicate, for your spiritual journey, for your dharma journey, and for your responsibility and sense of contribution. And yeah, so that's pretty much how I cope with it. It's all about who you surround yourself with at the end. If you're just alone by yourself, I don't think anybody can survive. Whether you are not Buddhist or whether you're Buddhist, I think we all have to be connected to a certain level. Sometimes the bond and the love cannot be found within the family, within the blood relative. It can be found in your best friend or in your marriage or in your relationship or with your neighbors so long as you have that understanding that love and happiness and the joy in life does not have to be stick glued in the blood, but rather with a sense of a common goal and a common understanding and companionship, with a sense of honesty. The moment you have that kind of broader understanding, and then the life gets easier gradually. That's my take on how to cope in such difficult stages in life.
Yes, thank you, La. From what Rinpoche just mentioned, just two things, La. Rinpoche being Rinpoche, like what kind of struggles did Rinpoche have to face, La? Like for people like us, I personally feel like for people like us, it's easier to like struggle because of our like untamed minds, and we are just like everywhere, all over the place. We are not able to be more mindful. But for someone like Rinpoche, like what kind of struggles, if you don't mind sharing them?
Oh, the struggle is basically, if I share all my struggle, I think that all the people who want to be a Buddhist, I think they will leave Buddhism.
Yes.
They were like, Buddhism is not for me. This is too bad. This is too much tragic. So I'm not going to share every bit of struggle, but I'm going to share a little bit. So just you get the idea.
Yes.
So basically, previous Kalu Rinpoche, when he traveled in the West, in the early 70s in Canada and also in the United States, He established more than 100 meditation centers, temples, and he was the first master who actually started this Chilingpa, like whether you are a woman or whether you're a man, even you're not a monk, you can do the 3 years retreat and you get the same title as all the lamas who have done the 3 years retreat in Himalaya region and so on. So he was the first Rinpoche who bring that up, right? So, and then when I was a little, and he was also very much revered among all the, Rinpoches. All the senior Rinpoches that we see now, they have some sort of transmission, empowerment, teachings related to him.
Yes.
So when you are very little, you are told that you say, you're very important, you're Kalu Rinpoche, you're very important, you're very important, very important. And then you start to wonder, like, okay, I keep on hearing that I'm important, but I don't feel very important, But you just kind of go on with your exam and you do your retreat, you do your studies, and you kind of tell yourself that be good and the good result will come, right? So you start with that mindset, a very innocent mindset. Be good, be honest, respect the karmic law. Everything has a consequences. Be kind, be compassionate. You have all these classical Buddhist ideas in your head, and you're thinking that's how the world works. That's what you think. But then when you start to travel around the world doesn't really function with the Buddhist philosophy. It functions based on the different intentions and different ambitions and the different ideas and different culture, different mentalities, different generations, different mindset. And then you need to adapt to it, right? And then also when I came out of the meditation centers, there was many, like people who say, Kalu Rinpoche, it's your center. It's your center. Please take it. It's your responsibility. And I thought, wow, that was wonderful. They let you, take the responsibility of the centers of the predecessor. That's a tremendous legacy. And you start to think, okay, so maybe I can take a decision. And when you're about to take a decision, they tell you, no, Rinpoche, you cannot take a decision. You let us take decision. We like to use, basically what they're saying is we like to use your name as a brand, but we do what we want to do. So when they get into trouble, and then they throw everything at me. So what I tell them is that I say, if you want to use my name as a brand, I cannot accept that, because then it's like whatever the progress that I made over time, and then, then it's like you make certain kind of crisis and then I'm going backward in life, right? So I said, good luck, all the best. You want to do your thing, all the best. And then I never use the idea of, you have broken the samaya between the guru, student, none of that. I just focus on, have you broken the law? Have you, lost your spiritual and dharmic ethical value to a certain extent? You don't have to be perfect. Nobody's perfect, but at least to a certain extent. And like an example, some lamas, we have a lot of centers, and many lamas, they are really good and really dedicated. And some lamas, they make a lot of projects and they make the centers into crisis, like financial crisis. And then when they have a debt, then they throw at you. They say, "Kalu, it's your center, it's your responsibility." So out of nowhere, you have so many different debt and different kind of mismanagement crisis that you had to handle all at once. And that was one of the reasons I was not in Bhutan, actually. When I came out of 3 years retreat, I was really thinking, the Bhutan is my hometown, and I spent time a little bit here when I was little with my late father. So I want to relive that memory, But then again, some, all my rest of my family is there fine. But then there's a one person called like Rinzin Lotus, she's known like that. And then some people like that, they say, oh, I represent Kalu Rinpoche, I represent this. And then deep down, they don't represent anything what I stand for. So there's a lot of challenges, and then every time you try to give them chance after chance, and they just become more aggressive, each time. So for me, sometime in life, what I understood is that you need to be tough. Buddhist principle is here, but the reality of the world functions very differently. You need to be tough. You need to be transparent with your management. in very honest. And my philosophy is always be truthful, lose everything in the beginning, gain everything over time. That is my motto in my mind, because when you pretend and pretend and pretend, oh, I'm Kalu Rimpoche, I have to wear clothes like this so that people can be devoted to me. I don't do that. I say, okay, this is who I am. When there's a religious event, out of respect, I wear my religious uniform. But other than that, I'm not a monk, so I just wear my normal clothes. And because if you cannot be a little bit realistic, how can you help other people with a Buddhist principle?
Yes.
So if you have too much pretentious, then you cannot be happy, let alone making other people happy. So that's just my take on it. I'm
My
sorry,
God.
I've been talking too much.
No, 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 la, my God. Rinpoche. That was really profound, la. Coming back to my second question related to what you said about basically setting boundaries and being tough, even
Hmm.
with family members, la.
Hmm. Yes, yes, absolutely.
Yes, la, because even I've noticed that not in my case, but then I've seen a lot of people have issues with their own parents,
Hmm.
parent-children relationship, sibling relationship, and even in married
Hmm.
couples, they have that
Hmm.
relationship and where they are most of the time being taken advantage of, and basically toxic family members.
Yes, 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 yes.
How can we draw boundaries in a subtle way where we keep our relationship,
Okay. Yeah,
but also push them away, like a little bit.
I look nice. Okay. Um, I I don't. I think there's a boundary only with the people who has a principle with themselves. You cannot set a boundary with the people who don't have a principle with themselves. Very simple. You
Yes.
cannot make them do, right? There's a saying that you can take the horse, but you cannot, you can take the horse to the river, but you cannot make the horse drink the water,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So you can set a boundary. People who respect you and love you, admire you, and they have a sense of concern and they have a sense of ethical understanding and they have a boundary by themselves. You don't need to remind them. Just like if you have a partner, you don't have to remind your partner, be loyal. Like if you have to remind your partner, be loyal, be honest, be loyal, then definitely you're not with the right person. No matter who that person is.
Yes.
So I think those who doesn't respect your boundary, stealing things from your by your names, by your or money or property or by inheritance or whatever it is, with them reason, you have to pick. You can't be a win. You cannot win in everything.
Yes.
So that's
Yes.
what I understood. You have to lose something in order to move forward.
Yes.
But that also means that you need to have a clarity in mind, right? You can't say, I have a set of boundary and like being very rigid. So you can have a boundary, but at the same time, we all need to improve further and progress in life and have more clarity and make a very clear judgment. Having a clear judgment does not mean that you have to be angry all the time. You can have a very clear judgment. That person crossed the boundary. That's it. You don't talk about it. You don't get mad about it over that. You don't spend your mind and your peace over it. You just say, that's it. So, and I think that is very important, not to pollute your mind over it and then progress your spiritual understanding and clarity. Yeah.
Yes. Last, my goodness.
Let me give you one example.
Last.
There's
Yes.
many successful spiritual religious Rinpoche. What I observe, uh, what I've seen is some senior Rinpoches who say, "Oh yeah, it's okay, everything is okay, yeah, this is okay, that is okay." When they say okay to too many things, and then regardless of their age, what I've observed is that they have a general secretary who will overtake everything, who will filter the information in between. And what happens on the ground doesn't reach to the top. What instructs from the top doesn't reach to the bottom. So but when you have a transparent management, like an example, I don't have a general secretary. That's not how I operate. I have 55 centers around the world, and then each, like in Europe, I have a one secretary in Asia, in India, and also North America and South America. So that each region is divided, their responsibility, so nobody is losing their mind over it. And I also make sure that they criticize about my responsibility as well. So I make sure that I ask them and I say, now criticize me. Is there any weakness in my decision? So we have this kind of open dialogue. We cook together, we eat together, we cut vegetables together, like Kiyodasi, same thing.
Love. Wow, Lasla Rinpoche.
I've seen some other Rinpoches, like an example, Dzongsa Khyentse Rinpoche, right? From the look of it, he's very yogi and very authentic master. But at the same time, he has an incredible transparency with his management, with his ethical values, that everything functions very professionally. Whether it's with the funds, whether it's something to do with the leadership, whether it's something to do with management. So if you observe carefully with some Rinpoches who are very clear with their principle, regardless of the name or title, they become very successful in the religious terms. I'm not talking about rich. I'm not talking about money. I'm not talking about fame. Success means stability and the harmony among the students. And if you have a leader who says, oh, that is also okay, this is also okay, and pleasing everybody and making sure, like that approach, it's a time bomb. So even in the religious world, you have to, upset some people at a certain time. If you upset people all the time, then you're wrong. Something is wrong with you. Yeah, that's all I wanted to say. I'm sorry.
Lasla Rinpoche is a very modern guru. I really appreciate the way like Rinpoche think and operate. And I think this is exactly what we need. And I'm so glad that, Rinpoche is on social media, because a lot of youth is on social media. And as Rinpoche must be aware that there is a lot of, because of the freedom of social media that, we all have, Bhutan being such a small country, I can see that it's impacting negatively on the youth with all the cyberbullying, name calling, and some youth are not able to take it, and they're not able to handle it, and because of which they are taking drastic measures and all that. And I'm sure there are some viewers here watching who have faced the cyberbullying and all that. What can Rinpoche advise? If Rinpoche could advise them on how to handle social media from a Buddhist point of view.
Buddhist point of view is, and I was not like born 100 years ago, and so I'm in my 30s. And when the first Facebook came, it was quite silent, because nobody knows how to put a comment, especially the older generation. They didn't have a phone in their hand. It was quite expensive in 2010 and 11. So the whole social media was there, but people are like, I don't want to post things on the Facebook. I don't want to say things on Facebook. So I witnessed that. And then as a few years gone by, and I think there was WeChat, and then everything was based on the voice recording, just the one finger and the one thumb to make a recording. And then I start to realize that so many things just escalated so far, and people criticizing, praising, posting, exposing, whatever. It was the pace of information and sharing among the older and the younger generation was skyrocketed. And and I'm not I did not pass beyond this phase. I was going through that phase, and I get a lot of criticism, and people say, you're doing like this and you're doing like that, and you're not wearing a traditional clothes. You talk about your own confession, what you experienced when you were a kid, and then you do this, you do that. And I think criticism by people will not go away, regardless of where you stand in life. Number one. Number two, have a good friends around you, if you can. And if you don't have a close friends who can morally support you, and at least try to survive day by day. You don't have to say that I'm going to be a Superman tomorrow. But at least try to survive day by day. Because there was a time for me that, uh, you know, in when you are in the position of leadership, you have to take an unpopular decision in order to maintain your legacy of the predecessor and the organization. You cannot make a popular decision all the time. If you make people happy, that means something is going off the chart.
Yes, yes.
So sometimes you have to make a decision, and then you get criticism, you get scrutinized, and that's there's a lawsuit and legal issues, rumors, and so on. Then when you face things like that, and sometimes it really hit me very hard in the past, like long, long time ago. And I used to drink, and then like trying to black out your mind, and then telling myself, I don't think I will survive next year if this keeps on going. So I used to think like that. I was working, I was not like hiding in my room. I was continue to work, I was continue to travel, I was continue to do what I need to do. But deep down I was not happy, you know I was not happy. But then I just pushed on, and I pushed on, and sometimes you tell yourself, how come this religious figure and that religious figure, what after what they have done, this and that, right? Knowing the inside stories, and they still get the recognition, they still get the respect, and I didn't do anything close to that, and yet I get unfair treatment, right? So you feel like that. You feel kind of self pity, and it's okay to feel a self pity little bit, not too much. When
Yes.
you feel self pity too much, and then it becomes narcissistic, and then also become attention seeker, and that goes down the drain. That is like really terrible character that some people tend to have. So therefore, it's very important to have a sense of self empathy and awareness of your own misery and suffering, and coming to an acceptance. I need to push through. I need to push through, right through. And then and then I continue to reunite all my centers, make sure all the debt are cleared, make sure there's no scandals. And then, one after another, in 2018, when I met Dalai Lama, and of course I met him several times before that. And when I was there, sitting in the front row, receiving his teaching, and during the tea break, he looked at me with a big smile, with a sense of pride in his eyes. And then that was the moment I kind of teared up. So I said, all the suffering, all the unpopular decision, all the hard decision, and the misery, the different stages, all of it was worth it because of that face up there, you know? And then you even push more. And you say, I'm going to push more. I'm going to do more. So I think for all of you viewers who are struggling, like I said, if you have a suffering, try to share with some friends, with a little bit of alcohol or with no alcohol, right?
Yes.
So just try to open up. You can cry a little bit. You can be a little bit emotional. It's fine. You need to decompress. You can't be like like tied up yourself, and then then you go into depression, and then everything becomes delusional, right? You don't know what's wrong, you don't know what's right, you don't want to fold the blanket, you don't want to wash your clothes, you don't want to see anybody. That's what happens, right? So even you want to drink a little bit with a good company, not like forcing you to drink like a competition, but just enough to make you relax, just enough to you to share, and that also to the right surrounding, not like somebody who encourage you to be unhealthy. I say, oh, it's okay, last night was fine. And then also try to support each other, right? And if that is not the best scenario, and then or try to be healthy, try to go for a run, try to go for a walk. And if that is not the solution, try to you know push yourself day by day. That's the worst case scenario, but you got to push it. And there's many moments in our life we tend to think like that, and you're not alone in it. you know and nobody's alone in their own suffering. Everybody has gone through that. And just don't lose yourself in the self empathy and the deep attention seeker. You need to have attention, but not too overwhelming. When you seek attention, When you seek a self-empathy, try to bring more emotional awareness and try to move forward, right? Try to move forward. Try to break away from the bad habits such as smoking and drinking, eating unhealthy stuff. Try to avoid it little by little, not in a religious way, just as a human being. Many people, they try to make it into a religious way, like, oh, you should not do this, you should not do that. Don't forget about all that. Just that you're a human being. Start with that. Don't try to bring this religious idea in your head. Oh, Guru Rinpoche said this, Buddha said this. Don't. Just leave that alone. First, focus on yourself. Focus on breathing. Focus on finding a little bit of quiet mind. So that is important. Then all the religious philosophical ideas, that comes later.
Yes.
That's just. So the cyberbullying will continue to exist. Don't give in. Don't give up. And try to share with your close friends and have a small circle. That's very important. Not a big circle, small circle. And yeah, and be ambitious. You know, many people used to think that you know Kalu Rimpoche will just disappear in the Western country after his 3 years retreat, and he will never come back to India or Bhutan. He will just be like a Chilingpa and all that. They used to have a talk like that. And then I tried to push on and on and on. And so the purpose and the drive and ambition will come by itself. You just have to, the only that it takes is that you need to have a patience to be acknowledged. Don't think that you will be acknowledged and recognized just because you push on for a few months.
Yes.
Try to have a patience. And I pushed on for since 2009 to 2018, 19, and then only you get the acknowledgement, recognition, and so you gotta push on, so you're not alone and you will be okay. Cyberbullying will be there, and try to make a good habit out of yourself, and don't try to follow different philosophical religious ideas. Focus on the calmness of the mind, breathing exercise, be healthy. So start light. Don't start heavy.
Yes, yes. Thank you, La. Thank you so much, La.
You're
Uh,
welcome.
yes, La. This is one question that I've always wanted to ask, but I've never had this opportunity to really sit with a Rinpoche and
Okay.
have this kind of conversation. And since Rinpoche is here right now, I've always been intrigued by this concept of law of karma and free will.
Mm-hmm.
No, like law of karma, like are we bound by karma, and how does free will come in the picture? How can free will change the effects of negative karma, if any? No, this is something that I've always been interested in.
In the Onro teaching, it says, "Chebele nam chemeza, majele tam temesi." There's a quote. "Chebele nam chemeza, majele nam temesi." It's saying that the things that you have accumulated over the last lifetimes, whether it's positive or negative, the things that you have committed, you are bound to face it. Things that you haven't done, you will never face it. Number one. Number two, with the I don't know about free will, but with the spiritual dharmic awakening mind, what will happen is that you will become more resilient, right? You'll become more resilient, and then see it as a painkiller. Like you will go through pain, but with the painkiller, with a sense of spiritual awakened mind, even you go through different stages of suffering, you just pass right through it with the clarity of the mind. And then also you're not a self-centered attitude. You become more compassionate, more wisdom. You have a sense of expansion towards how you perceive your reality. And then your perception of reality is more than I am happy, I am not happy, I am sad today. Your mind and the perception of the reality expands more than that. So therefore, the different wave of karmic law and that comes towards you, you will be able to overcome more easily. Does it make
So
sense?
yes, it does. But so basically, Rinpoche is saying that free will doesn't really play a part in our existence lah? Are we all living? Are we all living according to our karma right now lah? And don't we
No,
have like a little bit of grace or an option of getting the free will lah?
no, that's what I'm saying. So like you when you have a sense of nothing about the future is set as a prediction, right? So it doesn't mean that what you have faced, what you have accumulated in the last lifetime, doesn't mean that you have to face everything in this life. It may face in the next lifetime, maybe one lifetime away from before becoming enlightened. So it can be like that. So free will is a great idea, but even greater idea is to have a clarity and awareness of the mind. So if you have that, it's beyond the conceptual mind of ideology. If your mind can go beyond the conceptual mind of ideology, and then that is the true definition of free will, because you break away from the conceptual mind of illusion.
Last. Thank you, La. Thank you so much, La. That was a very easy to understand explanation, La, because I've been surfing the net on, and it always goes beyond my head. I don't understand.
Because you can have the idea of the free will, and it's a little bit like a big cage, small bird. You can fly around, but you're still in the cage, right? With the Buddhist concept of teaching is you break away from the cage, right? So the free will, the definition of the free will, is breaking away from the illusionary mind. Like an example, when we are sleeping, and then in that very moment of sleep, everything that we dreamt, we believe in that very moment. We say, that is real, that is real, that is real, that was real, this is real. And the moment you wake up, you realize that was not real. And that is the awakened mind. But that awakened mind is very temporary and in a very relative level. What I'm saying is that going beyond the illusionary mind means breaking away from the Semgitulpa. Semgitulpa Shiksawayana, it's Buddhahood, right?
Yes. Wow.
So that's the true definition of free will. So,
Thank you, La.
opinion.
Thank you, La. Thank you so much, La. Last question on our law of karma, La. Can karma be cleansed in one lifetime, La?
Yeah, like a Milarepa. Absolutely. But are we able to even start like him? I don't think so. So therefore, we should not try too hard to be a yogi. Like people who trying too hard to be a practitioner, right? Trying to mimic other people, trying to copy other people, and that kind of a spiritual journey is not good. So try to be genuine to yourself. That is the most important. You don't have to be honest to everybody. Just be genuine to oneself. Be genuine of whether you are really distracted or whether you are really doing the practice of teachings of the Buddha sincerely from the heart or not. And that sense of clarity in the judgment is very important. So you can start from there, and then you develop a sense of awareness of your own sensorial, of your body and mind. And then as you cross that, and then as you have a less interest on how you taste and what you hear and how you feel and what you see and what you don't like to hear, once you go beyond the sensorial layer of illusion, and then the spiritual journey becomes more accelerating.
Yes.
I know it sounds difficult. So that's why I gave up. I gave up on enlightenment at this point. I'm like, I want to be businessman, helping other people make some changes.
My God. Rinpoche La,
Yes.
like I said, I will not be taking too much of your time, but
It's okay. Go on.
this is one thing that I would really something that I have been curious about. Like I have come across a few people who have not really been very kind or compassionate or very nice human beings. I've seen that. But then we also see that they are doing really good in life. They are happy. Where is the karma? Is it like for the next life, or do some people face their karma in this lifetime only, or is it only like kept for the next life? This is something that I'm sure a lot of people wonder, lah, because we have some not so nice people around, and lah, they seem to be doing just fine, lah.
Hmm.
So I'm just
Well,
thinking, like, where is the law of karma that we keep the cause and effect? Where is it? That's what I
okay.
wonder, lah, sometimes.
Law of the karma is not like it's not like a Christian belief of that you're going to face a judgment.
That's
You're
right.
going to be judged by the Buddha, or you're going to be punished by the Buddha. Buddha did not create or invent the idea of the karma. Karma functions by itself. The chain reaction of your own intentions, your own mind, your own motivation, and the subtle energy that we move around with. So, so it's not like a somebody's watching over and that she's doing well, let's give her reward. He's doing not so well, let's give a little bit of punishment. It doesn't function like that. And most importantly, we should not waste our time thinking that they deserve something bad or they
Yes.
deserve something good, because that's a waste of time. We don't even know what is going to happen tomorrow, in a certain level of our, in our life. So thinking that they deserve good or they deserve bad, I gave up that idea a long time ago, because I used to think that the people who sexually abused me, and like when I was very little, not from my monastery, it's a different monastery, and then people who claimed themselves as a representation of me and this and that, and assassination attempt and stealing the money from the organization. And then there was a time where I used to think, what did I do to deserve this? How come they seems to be fine? They make rumors, they make gossip, and then they picture themselves so good, and you lost everything, and then you're left with the empty bowl, and you have so much hate, you have so much anger, you have so much disappointment, and then, but then when you go into the depth of the negativity, it bounces back. When it bounces back, you start to develop more clarity with your spiritual understanding. So that's how I overcome. I'm not saying that I have never thought of like that, like the way you were expressing it. I thought of like that in the past, but it's just waste of time to think like that. You just have to create more positivity and more clarity and calmness in your mind, and more uh, positive reflection to other people, and that, I think that's the most important.
Yes.
Whether you call yourself religious or not doesn't matter.
Rinpoche just mentioned Rinpoche was sexually abused as a child.
Hmm.
Now, for just for a minute, forgetting that, like, you're a Rinpoche, you were a child.
Hmm.
Were those people ever punished, or like,
No, there was an assassination attempt also.
oh my
Uh,
God,
yeah, after 3 years retreat. Now I can make a joke out of it. But there was a time that I don't even want to see a red color, like, because the person, was my personal tutor. It was not a guru. So make sure there's no misunderstanding, So it was a personal tutor who tried to take my life. And because he wants to be the general secretary, and in public they say, oh, Rinpoche is an adult person. He's 18 years old, completed 3 years retreat. He has a full leadership position. But in private, they say, you're not allowed to keep this. You're not allowed to say this. You're not allowed to decide this. And then my guru, Siddhu Rinpoche, he says that, Rinpoche, you should explore the world. You should travel. You should teach. You should experience life. And these are the senior figure. But the people in the middle, they don't like that independent. They don't like the experience, because if I'm there experiencing the world and life and the, different cultures and different perception of life, and how different people think, right? Not every country is a Buddhist country, and how they interact with how they perceive Buddhism and religions, and so on and so forth. And the middle people, they don't like that so much. At least, a long time ago, back then, when I didn't have everything in managed, in managed position. So there was a kind of traumatic experience, and the people were never punished. Like I said earlier, It was like, it's okay, people talk bad, don't continue with the lawsuit, don't talk about court, don't talk about like, and then of course at the end you suffer and they get away, free. So, but now I can make a joke out of it. Before I used to think like, why did I deserve this? And then you drink a glass of whiskey and say, oh, why? And
Last.
then now I can make a joke out of it because I really don't care. The life has to move on. You have to reflect the positivity. You can't continue with the self-pity. You can't say, oh, I'm the victim, oh, so poor me. It doesn't help anybody. You can share the stories, definitely, to encourage other people. I've been broke, eating noodles at some stages and so on because the sponsors that were there, was overtaken by different organizations and so on. There was so many different kind of struggle, and then you can blame other people, but to what extent you want to continue to blame, other than you just need to push it through in life and make a progress, and I think that is very important.
Yes.
Is it okay?
My goodness. So, I guess that's why Kalu Rimpoche is Kalu Rimpoche lah, because you also seem to be able to kind of forgive and move on and kind of not dwell into all the traumatic experiences, because laymen like us would really be traumatized, I think, till our deathbed lah. If
Oh
these
yeah, I have forgive them, but I haven't forgot them. There's a difference. Like if you say, "Oh, forgive them," and then you let them walk over. No way, absolutely not. And I have forgive them to give myself the peace, but there's a thick wall in between that they will never see me again, right? So you got to do that, isn't it? And if you let them walk over you, they will repeat again and again. I've seen that so many times. You give them chance, you talk to them, you tolerate with them, like all my rest of my family members, they're all fine, they're my other sisters and my mother, we are all fine. And like there's one of my family member who's known as how the Rinzin Lotus in the social media, and she meets other people, and then when they come to Bhutan, and of course for 15 years I was not here, and then when they say, "Oh, we want to meet Kalu Rinpoche," and then she says, "Oh, if you want to meet Kalu Rinpoche, you have to give me money." And then when I was in United States, the people came to me and they said, "Rinpoche, is it true that I have to give you money in order to see?" I said, "Where did you hear that from?" Right? So that you get really upset, and then you tell that person, or similar situation to other people, don't do that, and you forgive them, you support them, and they still do it. So I come to understanding that you got to stop. There's no lack of people. There's no lack of good people. There's no lack of bad people in this planet. So you can always align with the good people with a similar goal, with a similar ambition. And I think that helps much more.
Yes. Last lah, my goodness lah, it's
It's life.
absolute honor and a privilege to have had this conversation with Rinpoche.
Yeah, same.
I am 100% sure that from this day on, I will make sure that I live my life mindfully, with intention, backed by action, and I hope that, and I'm pretty sure that the viewers here as well will, do the same. Thank you so much. And now I will just put on the comments, if I can just have 5.
To say, Pamela, thank you very much for giving me this platform to speak very informally. Otherwise, sometimes it gets quite serious, with the robe and should say this and should not say this, and I've done that many times. So, giving this informal platform, I felt really comfortable, and and I hope that what I share with people here, I hope that is going to be helpful to you. And our country, Bhutan, is small in terms of population, but we have an incredible leadership which is His Majesty, and then of course Shung Dasang with the spiritual head of Jekempo. So there's an order in our country where other countries everybody's doing whatever they want and then being aggressive and ambitious, and but also creating chaos. And I've seen that. But then when you come to Bhutan, there's a religious order, and there's a sense of leadership and transparency as well. So, and I think we as a Bhutanese, we have to know that we are fortunate to have that, because we cannot create overnight that circumstance. That has to create over hundreds of years. So I know what is fortunate, because I've seen the world. I've seen how religious people can be very ambitious to the point of destroying each other. It doesn't mean Buddhism; it can be other religion. So therefore, in our country, Buddhist is a majority. Of course, there's other different faiths, but there's a religious order, and then there's a political order, and then there's a great leadership with His Majesty, and that's very important. And in many other countries, they can be very big but very chaotic, and people don't get acknowledged for what they have done, what they have gone through. In Bhutan, in our small community, people who have done good, we get some form of recognition and acknowledgement and so on by the public, by the royal family. And then I think it's just wonderful. And then I'm very fortunate to be Bhutanese, so.
Thank you, La. Thank you so much,
Shall
La.
we let some people
Yes,
like
La.
ask one or two questions,
Yes,
and
La.
then
Would Rinpoche be able to answer 3 questions, La?
yes, you
Yeah,
can you
three
can choose,
questions.
but not exactly the same, right?
Yeah, 3 questions out of the questions I asked. If you all have any questions, La, viewers, courtesy. Rinpoche, please tell about chanting Bhaja Guru ki benefits, La, Lola.
Banza Guru, oh, Banza Guru ki benefit, yeah. The Banza Guru benefit is that Guru Rinpoche is the second Buddha, number one. And number two is Guru Rinpoche is not just a second Buddha, but also the one who gave so many of the Vajrayana teachings. The one that we know as Bhutanese, and where the Dorje Trolu, self-emanation, of a different emanation of you know 8 different emanation of Guru Rinpoche, and one of the emanation where he have himself in Parotaksang, and where he did the retreat of Purba, and where he did the retreat in Sengizong as well in the east. So as a Bhutanese, we are very much linked with the Guru Rinpoche, number one. And number two, Guru Rinpoche is a second Buddha. Number three is Guru Rinpoche is also known as a, how can I say, dispelling all the obstacles, dispelling all the negativity, and then also the blessing of the Guru Rinpoche, inseparable as a shadow with us. So that these are the benefit of chanting Guru Rinpoche, prayers and mantras in general. What's your plan or project in GMC, La? The plan and project, I will not say anything at the moment, because I don't want to brag about it and like, I'm doing this and I'm doing that. There's no point. What I can say is that I'm throwing and doing everything for this country, because long time ago in 2013, when I met His Majesty, he said to me, come to Bhutan, spend time in Bhutan, spend more time with the youth, and, basically a public service. And then I said, of course, Your Majesty, I will. But then that time I had no experience, no network, no management in place. I was there, I was doing good, but not to the point where you can contribute to a country.
Yes.
So all that years, for the last 15 years, I'm bringing over to, not GMC only, it's just for the Bhutan itself. And I think you will see all the different kind of projects in time. But at the moment, I don't want to brag about it. I see some people like, oh, I'm doing this and that and that. It's like a self promotion. I don't like self promotion. I like to do things and let the result speak by itself. It's much better. Otherwise, people question, oh, he's doing this. Is it really good intention? No, no. I find it quite unnecessary. So I'm not just doing for GMC, and then I'm also doing for the country itself.
Thanks.
So that's my answer to all I can give at the
Yes.
moment. But
Uh,
we'll see.
last, I'm sure Rinpoche has some work, and I'm taking so much time, but just take maybe one or two more questions. People seem to be so obsessed with self-respect in life. Is it really bigger than kindness, la Lola?
Well, there's a self-respect, and then there's a how can I say? Then there's an egotistical character.
Yes.
So self-respect is being genuine, being authentic, speak gently, be kind to a certain level, but not all the way like throwing yourself in the street for other people. Uh, so that kind of a sense of self-respect is very important. But egotistical is not self-respect, so there has to be some form of distinction and clarity in oneself. Um, yeah.
Last, last, there is one last question from my side, la.
Okay.
It's about death.
Okay.
How how do we cope up with the death of a loved one, la? Because for me personally, I'm not able to kind of move on from the death of my grandmother, and even though she was very old, like I keep
Yes.
feeling sadness and grief time and time again. It keeps coming to me, and how can I kind of maybe accept the fact that she's gone and it's time to now move on forward, la?
Mm. Well, about grief, as I was telling you earlier, when I was very little, of course, I was traveling with my late father, because he's the head of the organization, the whole organization. So when he built this house in Taba, I spent a little bit time with him. When I was with him, I'm like the spoiled child, because he spoiled me. He loves me so much, and he never see me as his son. He always saw me um, as a Kalu Rimpoche. He always see me as his guru, because he respected his uncle so much, and he always said Rimpoche. He always comes with like this. He never hit me, not even once.
Yes.
That I remember very clearly. So he had incredible devotion to previous Kalu Rimpoche. And as he passed away with a stroke, and I was with him in the car when he passed away. And then my mother said to me, Rinpoche, your Kalu Rinpoche, do something. She was in panic and she was in grief and sad and shock. And I told her, I said, I am 7 years old right now. Just because I'm your son does not mean that I will not die. The death will come to me, whether I like it or whether I don't like it. That is the fact. So that is the impermanence of life. And that's what I told her when I was 7 years old. And I remember that very clearly. And of course, life moved on very fast. The 49 days didn't even finish, but people were showing their true colors within 49 days.
Oh my God.
Everybody was taking whatever they want, whether it's money, centers, monasteries, and sponsors. Everybody was showing their true colors. Of course, there was a lot of superficial, artificial conversation. Oh, we feel for you. Oh, what to do? Like very fake. But I don't care so much about it. And I saw so many changes and fights and argument within 49 days, and the whole organization kind of collapsed within, like because everybody wanted their own territory. You understand?
Yes.
But that was before, and and then of course I one after another after when I did my 3 years retreat, I travel around the world. I met more and more people who have known my father and who have worked the legal issues, who have set up the centers, make sure there's no legal problems, in terms of structure, in terms of management. And the more I see these things, and I see my father through it. Do you understand?
Yes.
Like, yes, it's a little bit like seeing his notebook, right? His work, his daily journal. But I don't have his daily journal, but it's more like seeing his work. Why he was not there with me as a father? Why he was so busy? And the more I travel all around different centers, the more I realize how much he have worked for me, as a son or as a Kalu Rimpoche. And then I start to miss him more. I start to grieve. I didn't grieve over about him until I was 19. And so the more I travel around the world, the more I meet the people that he have associated with, and how they revered him and respect him, and how much of a friends and network that he have prepared for me. Do you understand?
Yes.
It's a little bit like I have some friends I have friends. Many of my friends are very old, actually. You may think that, I have a lot of 20 years over, and I don't. I have a lot of people who are in their 50s and the 40s and the 60s. And these are my friends, since I start traveling around the world. And it really helped me. They gave me a lot of insight, and a lot of advice. And there were some people who said, I promise to your father, that when the Kalu Rinpoche reaches to a certain age and certain realization, I promise your father that I will step in and do everything for you. So I thought that, everything collapsed. And of course, I was working very hard to keep things together, but, and then as in my early 30s, and then I start to meet more and more people like that, as it is a good news that there's more support. But then at the same time, I realize how much my father loved me. And I start to grieve, and sometimes I just sit outside and I look at the stars, and sometimes I just wish that my father is with me. And then, when I go and meet Dalai Lama, and then when I travel on his behalf, to the members of the parliament in the different countries such as, and like I went on his behalf, like in England, in Estonia, to meet with the parliament, to say thank you very much for supporting the Buddhism and so on and so forth. And I start to do all that, and also serving His Holiness Dalai Lama, and then of course, my country, and then, I wish sometime that my father witnessed all that, But then I try to give myself a reason. If my father is there, I don't think I would be the person I am today. I think he loved me so much, and I would be probably, driving a Land Cruiser around, and, being spoiled and just be one of the tuku, with long hair. You understand what I mean? Like, not really doing a lot of things, but not also doing so much in life either. So like, something in between.
Yes.
I think I think if my father was there, I don't think I would be in the 3 years retreat. I don't think I would be studying the length of the studies that I've done, and I don't think I would suffer. I think he would keep me in a golden cage, very much to his last breath. So, in a different perspective, I say, you left me in the right time, and I miss you. I think of you, and I will make sure that legacy of you will always be there. So, because my ancestor, my father and previous Kalu Rinpoche, we are coming from the ancestor of the first Karmapa, from the eastern Tibet. From first Karmapa's family member, we are descendant of that. So previous Kalu Rinpoche was the same family as the first Karmapa. So I said to myself, I'll make sure, the legacy continues, and sometimes a little bit emotional, but that's life, So don't feel guilt just because you have a sense of grief, Live with it. It's all good. It's okay. It's okay to miss your grandmother, and it's okay to cry over your grandmother, and make a prayer for your grandmother, So don't just continue with the sadness, Start a little bit of sad movie, followed by a good ending,
Yes.
like a happy, like American movie, always ending up with the ambulance and the police coming to rescue at the end, right? So a little bit of happy with the good, details. So I think that's good. So don't feel guilt over your grief. Don't feel guilt over your mistakes. So you will be a little bit more happier, you know. Be aware of your own emotion and your life. And yeah, just don't lose your mind over it. Anything. Over it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, La. Thank you so much, La. I would have maybe stopped to that, but then my cousin here, Tenzin Chogyal, he's asking one question, La. How can we live a happy and peaceful life?
Happy and peaceful life.
Yes, La.
Happy and peaceful life is, I have no idea. That's a mystery. Happy is one thing and peaceful is another, you know. Yeah, happy, you know, you can be the most ignorant person, you can be very happy. You can have a lot of things and you can be unhappy, right? And then you can have a lot of things and do a lot of things for other people and you can be happy with it, you
Yes.
know. You know, or you can be alcoholic and say I have nothing, I have don't have this and I don't have that, and be a gambler and alcoholic and say, oh, I don't have anything. So you also can have nothing and then be also, you know, a piece of trash basically. So it's all about mindset and your ambition and your goals. I think it really comes down to that.
Yes. Last lines. Thank you, La. Thank you so much. There was actually one more person called Finso IP who's been repeatedly sending this question, which is, what is life to you, and are we here with purpose? And we live? Do we live when the purpose is attained, Lola? The last final question. So sorry, Rimpoche.
Uh, you know, if you have to ask yourself what is the purpose of life, I think you have to, you know, I think you have to suffer a little bit, or you need to know yourself a little bit more.
Yes.
You know, if you have to question what is the purpose of my life, you know, you don't ask the question the purpose of your life. It depends on the how you see the depth of your life, isn't it? You know, when you see how you reflect, you know, the depth of your character, the depth of the legacy of your family, or what you can contribute to your community, or to your family, or to your close friends, right? So sometimes the purpose does not have to be loud. Sometimes the purpose can be silent, very quiet, something very sincere, you know. So not every purpose has to be loud. Some purpose can be simple. But is that what you want? That is the question you have to ask. So you have to know yourself, you know, before you say, what is the purpose of my life?
Yes. Last, La, thank you. La, thank you so much, La Rimpoche. I just feel so blessed. Like I said, it's an absolute honor to have had this conversation with Rimpoche. I do not think there will ever be another moment in my life where I'll get this opportunity to sit and have this kind of conversation with Rimpoche. La. So I
Mhm.
really appreciate Rimpoche's basically teachings and sharing your life experiences, and basically
Thank you.
everything. La Rinpoche literally shared everything, and I'm really grateful for that. La. Thank
You're
you so
welcome.
much for taking your time out, La, and thank you, La. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Have a
Really,
good evening, everyone. Thank you very much.
thank you, La. Thank you so much.